When we discuss about fire, so fire is a rapid chemical process in which oxygen combines with other two elements like fuel and source of heat or ignition, and that starts combustion reaction, which results in heat, flames, and smoke production. So that is what fire is. When we talk about fire, this is what fire triangle is. So majorly three parts of this triangle is available. One is oxygen. So we do need oxygen, which is normally available in our work environment and air. So oxygen is available in the air. We do need fuel, one of the category, and fuel is also available everywhere most of the time. Like in any form, it could be solid fuel, it could be liquid fuel, it could be gaseous fuel. So fuel is also available. When we talk about heat, ignition source or heat is important part. So most of the time we do have two elements available, or present in the workplace, but the heat or ignition source is one of the element that is required in order to complete this triangle. So as soon we have three element or three component available, fire will start or combustion reaction process will start. So if we exclude any of the element, that will actually disrupt the fire, that will actually stop the fire, and in that case fire will not move forward in that case. So look at the presentation: fuel, oxygen, and sources of ignition. So sources of ignition could be like we talk about. It could be any sort of energy. It could be electricity, electrical sockets. It could be electrical equipments. It could be any sort of energy that may lead to ignition. And we do have oxygen concentration like 21% in the air generally available, and may lead to combustion process. And fuel could be either wood, it could be either plastic, it could be either fabric, it could be either liquids like petrol, thinner, diesel, etc., etc. So this is the typical requirement of fuel as well. So when we talk about classification of fire, this classification is based on UK standard and EU classification standard. There might be a difference in US classification of fire. There might be a difference in other countries as well. But what we need to focus in this qualification is all about UK standard. You need to go through some other resources as well, like what are the classification in US and Australia and other parts of the world. So just for the information and additional knowledge on the classification. So when we talk about classification, class A is solid material fire, which includes wood, which includes fabrics, which includes clothes, etc., etc. Class B is the second classification. It's all about liquids and liquefiable solids, for example petrol, thinner, diesel, etc. Class C is gases classification, which includes natural gas like methane and LPG, etc. And class D is metals fire, which includes sodium, potassium, magnesium, highly hazardous metals that are flammable, highly flammable, and that produce fire rapidly. Class F is a high temperature fat fire or cooking oil fire we can consider. So there is a difference, like comparison is given in this slide if we look at. So class in UK classification and US classification. So if we look at classification, we do have class A in US, and that is solid class of solid fire. We do have class A in US as well, where we can believe this is also class of solid fuel. We do have class B in UK, we do have class B in US as well, and that is the same flammable liquids here. Here we have gasoline, paint, and other flammable liquids as well. We do have class C flammable gases in UK standard. However, in US standard, class C is about electrical equipments and fire associated with electrical energy. We do have class D in UK, that is for metals. In US it is also for metal. We do have class F for fat oil or cooking oil fire in UK standard, and in US standard we have K kitchen class fire, that is in US standard. In UK we don't have any other classification for electrical, but they include it as a symbol, and they consider this as an ignition source for fire. And in US class they have C class particularly for electrical equipment. However, more or less they are covering range of classification in both standards. So our group exercise now is about considering how a gas cooker heats and cooks food, and we need to use the same principles as we use for cooking. So let's use the principle and identify how a fire might spread in a two-story office block on the base of different fundamental principles. You need to actually cover heat transfer methods or fire transfer method in this case. So this is what our group exercise will make sure, as divided in groups, will conduct this exercise and also provide you.